Where it's like, please, Lord. Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow.
When Will Smith walked onto the Oscars stage and slapped Chris Rock for a joke about his wife, the whole world froze in a moment that refused to fade. But it was Joe Rogan's comment that really exposed what many people were afraid to say.
First of all, that whole scene doing that in that manner, in that place, is a great example of what's wrong with the glorification of just being able to go up to someone and smack them in the face.
For Rogan, that moment wasn't just about a man losing his temper. It was about something deeper, something almost symbolic. It was a snapshot of what he calls fake masculinity. The kind that looks confident from a distance but cracks the moment it is tested. The slap was, in his eyes, a desperate move. It was the kind of action that reveals more weakness than control. Rogan saw it for what it was, a performance of power rather than the real thing.
Extremely wealthy. It's not going to happen. And not only that, Chris Rock instantly didn't press charges. He wouldn't press charges, and he just accepted it.
I would say
Rogan has always had a sharp eye for human behavior. Years of martial arts, comedy, and long-form conversations have turned him into a kind of observer of people. When he talks about strength, it's not about who can throw the hardest punch. It's about composure, respect, and the ability to face conflict without letting emotion drive the wheel. And that is exactly why he found the slap so revealing. Will Smith, for all his success, had spent decades building an image of confidence and charm. But in that one heated second, all that poise fell away. The mask slipped.
Wow, dude.
Yes.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
I'm going to.
What made this even more fascinating to Rogan was how it played out on such a grand stage. The Oscars aren't just another award show. They are the pinnacle of Hollywood, the one night every star is supposed to represent the best of the best. And in front of millions of viewers, Will Smith, a man often praised for his grace and control, turned a comedy bit into a personal meltdown. Rogan saw that as the perfect example of how easily an image can crumble under the weight of ego.
fully
in
get
reference
it.
to a movie where a lady shaved her head.
I fully get it, but
Like
I'm
the
just
idea
simply
that there's
saying
any justification whatsoever of him getting up there and
No.
smacking him in the
No,
face like
he didn't.
that.
He didn't need to go up there and smack him at all.
To understand why Rogan's take hit so hard, it helps to look at the man behind the moment. Will Smith's entire career has been about confidence, positivity, and emotional intelligence. He was the Fresh Prince, the charming action hero, the global superstar who seemed to have it all together. But fame can be a double-edged sword. The more perfect your image becomes, the more pressure builds to maintain it. And when that image is built around strength and composure, even the smallest crack can feel like an earthquake. The slap was that crack breaking open in real time.
Another passion you share, though, is music.
Music,
I know
yeah.
you haven't. Have you collaborated on music together?
No, never.
No,
never
no,
done.
we never done that before.
Rogan's analysis isn't just about the act itself, but what it reveals about our culture. He points out how society often mistakes aggression for strength and silence for weakness. Real masculinity, he argues, isn't about dominance or control. It's about the quiet kind of power that comes from knowing yourself, the kind that doesn't need validation from anyone else. What Will did, in contrast, was perform masculinity as if it were a role to be played, not a principle to be lived. It was an emotional reaction disguised as a moral defense. This perspective gives Rogan's commentary its edge. He doesn't speak like a scholar or a media critic. He speaks like someone who has seen enough fights to know what real composure looks like. He brings humor, wit, and grounded truth into the discussion. When he calls out fake masculinity, it doesn't come from a place of judgment, but recognition. He has talked with soldiers, fighters, thinkers, and survivors on his podcast. He knows the difference between someone acting tough and someone who truly embodies resilience. That is what made his take sting with authenticity.
Jada sat down with Will to explain how she met August 4.5 years ago, but the friendship didn't turn into something more until she and Will were ready to call it quits.
The tension between image and reality is what makes the slap more than just gossip fodder. It exposes how fame and ego can twist the idea of manhood. For decades, Will Smith cultivated an identity built on charm and control, but that same image, under pressure, became a trap. Rogan's insight hits here because he sees through the performance. He recognizes how fragile that kind of masculinity is, how quickly it can collapse when it's built on perception instead of self-awareness. It's almost tragic when you think about it. Will Smith was supposed to be the symbol of modern manhood. He spoke openly about love, emotion, and growth. He made vulnerability look powerful. But in that 1 second of rage, all that progress seemed to vanish. The very traits that made him relatable turned into a contradiction. The man who preached emotional balance lost his balance. The man who promoted inner strength lost control. Rogan's reaction captured that irony perfectly.
And I know to do what we do, you got to be able to take abuse. You got to be able to have people talk crazy about you.
He also saw the slap as part of a larger cultural pattern. In a world where fame amplifies everything, even a small mistake becomes a symbol. The slap wasn't just about two celebrities. It was about what happens when pressure, pride, and insecurity collide in public. Rogan often talks about how modern masculinity has become performative, how men are constantly told to project confidence rather than develop it. Will Smith's outburst, in that sense, became a mirror for everyone watching.
Like,
Probably
it was
not.
never going to happen.
Probably
he just
not.
smacked him.
But-
He didn't beat the shit out of him. He didn't harm him.
But,
He
I mean,
smacked him in the
but
face
we
and
live in a
humiliated
society
him.
where violence is so.
But there's no way. There's no way Will Smith's going to become penniless from smacking Chris Rock.
The idea that masculinity has become confused with performance isn't new, but Rogan gave it new urgency. He reminded listeners that real strength is often invisible. It's in restraint, in self-control, in the ability to absorb a moment of disrespect and still walk away with dignity intact. For him, what Will did wasn't about protecting his wife or defending his honor. It was about protecting his ego. That, to Rogan, is the core of fake masculinity. It's a hollow kind of strength that demands to be seen. The more Rogan explored the slap, the more he peeled back layers of meaning. He talked about how fame isolates people, how success can trap you in an image that no longer fits. For Will, every move had become a brand statement. Every word was a headline waiting to happen. Living in that spotlight makes it almost impossible to be human. The slap was a moment of humanity breaking through the illusion, raw and unfiltered. Rogan saw that and called it what it was. Not power, but pain dressed up as power. The conversation naturally expands from there into bigger questions about how men deal with humiliation, especially when the world is watching. Rogan often says that life will test your ability to stay grounded. In the face of mockery or pressure, some crumble, some endure, and some, like Will, lash out. The difference, Rogan suggests, comes down to emotional fitness, the kind that isn't built in a gym but in your own mind.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Just
there's
simply because
plenty
women
of
just
world star
I get
hip hop videos of women beating the fuck out of each other. You can find a lot of videos online of women in Walmart parking lots pulling
yes,
each other's hair.
yes.
You can feel how much this perspective connects with Rogan's audience. His listeners know he isn't analyzing from an ivory tower. He's thinking out loud, working through the contradictions of fame, power, and manhood, just like everyone else. His take on the slap becomes more than commentary. It's a shared reflection. It asks people to look at themselves and question what kind of strength they value. As the debate grew, Rogan's words stood out because they cut through the noise. While tabloids focused on the drama and memes flooded the internet, Rogan pulled attention back to the core issue. What does it really mean to be strong? The flow of Rogan's discussion mirrors the rhythm of the moment itself. Shock turns into reflection, anger becomes analysis, and finally, The chaos settles into understanding. Each layer of his take unfolds naturally, leading the viewer from the spectacle of the slap to the philosophy behind it. This pacing keeps the audience hooked because it feels like a journey, from noise to meaning, from confusion to clarity.
You're protected by guards, you're driven by limos, you're on the red carpet, like all of it is crazy life. And
agree.
he's so goddamn famous and so removed from regular discourse and interaction with regular people.
There's something powerful in how Rogan connects this single event to the broader evolution of masculinity. He paints it as a transition point between two eras, one where power was measured by dominance, and one where it's measured by control. The slap becomes a symbol of that shift, a reminder that the old idea of manhood is breaking down in public view. Rogan's storytelling turns it into a mirror for every man trying to figure out where he stands in that change. It's also impossible to ignore how Rogan grounds this in real-world terms. He brings in lessons from fighting, from sports, from everyday life. He talks about respect, composure, and balance in a way that feels lived, not lectured. That tone is what keeps people listening. It's not a sermon. It's a conversation that makes you think, even if you don't agree. The beauty of Rogan's analysis is that it never stays stuck in criticism. He circles back to empathy, reminding his audience that nobody is immune to failure. Will Smith's breakdown might be public, but everyone has their version of that moment. The difference is that ours don't happen on live television. That recognition gives the story depth and keeps it from turning into moral judgment. As the discussion winds toward its conclusion, Rogan ties everything together with one consistent idea. Real strength doesn't need an audience. It's quiet, patient, and self-contained. The slap, for all its noise, was the opposite of that. It was a cry for validation. And that's why it resonated so deeply with people everywhere. It showed how fragile the illusion of control can be when built on pride instead of peace.
For me, I'm like, look, if you're adding stress into your life by publicizing and externalizing everything, which again says something more about the state of things, like, why are you externalizing this shit?
By the time the story comes full circle, the slap is no longer just an event, but a metaphor. It becomes a reflection of modern manhood under pressure, fame under scrutiny, and humanity caught between who we are and who we pretend to be. Rogan's perspective lingers because it isn't about gossip. It's about growth. It invites people to look beyond the surface and see the lesson hiding in plain sight. In the end, Joe Rogan's take on Will Smith's Oscars slap feels less like a commentary on a celebrity feud and more like a reality check for everyone. It challenges the idea that masculinity is about power, reminding viewers that true strength lies in understanding, restraint, and humility. It's about mastering yourself long before trying to master anyone else. And that's it for today's episode. What do you think of Rogan's comments on this incident? Tell us in the comments section whether or not you agree with him. Don't forget to like and subscribe to get the first updates on our new videos. Thank you so much for watching till the end. See you in the next one.